Okay, today I am the affirmative side for legalization of marijuana. My first point I would like to make is that prohibiting marijuana is extremely expensive for our justice system. Milton Friedman, who was an American economist at the University of Chicago, along with 500 more economists, worked on the budgetary implication of prohibiting marijuana. They found that millions of arrests per year occur around the United States for possessing or selling marijuana. In California alone, 1,400,000 arrests occurred in 2005, and in other states like Texas and New York, over 1 million arrests occurred as well. In California, in 2008, $981 million was spent on prohibiting marijuana. So nearly $1 billion in just the state of California was used against marijuana, and all of these expenses could have been used for more effective judicial aspects of our government. The total report made by the economists reported that the legalization of marijuana would save $7.7 billion in government expenses. $5.3 billion of these savings would go to the state and local governments, and $2.4 billion would go to the federal government. My second point that I would like to make is that marijuana is much safer to use than alcohol, and alcohol is obviously legal. In 2001, the Center for Disease Control of the United States reported that 331 alcohol overdose deaths occurred, and there were no reports of marijuana overdose deaths ever. In 2003, the Center for Disease Control recorded over 20,000 alcohol-induced deaths, which include liver failure, other stuff like that. And in a more recent study done in 2007 in Australia by the Institute of Health and Welfare over there, they found that 3.2% of all the disease burden in the country was from alcohol, and 0.01% was from marijuana usage. So that's a clear distinguish that alcohol is more harmful. So far, I've talked about marijuana saving money for our government, and that is safer to use than alcohol. My next point is that legalization of medical marijuana has not increased the use of the drug in our youth. Jocelyn Edders, who is a former U.S. Surgeon General, wrote in an editorial of the Providence Journal that the fear that medical marijuana laws will increase teen usage in 1996, when California passed the first effective medical marijuana law, has not come true. She also said that according to the official California Student Survey, teen marijuana use in California rose steadily from 1990 to 1996, but began falling immediately after the medical marijuana law was passed. Furthermore, in 2006, Rhode Island legalized medical marijuana. The Youth Risk Behavior System had surveys recorded from 1997 all the way to 2009, and based on the analysis of over 32,000 students, they found that while marijuana use was common through the study period, there was no significant difference in the marijuana use between the states in any year. So on to my next point. We all know that propaganda in the media and the government over the years has said how marijuana is bad for you, and these health dangers are extremely exaggerated. A research done by the International Neuropsychological Society said that long-term heavy use of marijuana did not have significant effects on cognitive abilities. Also, a study funded by the National Institute of Drug Abuse concluded that heavy smoking of marijuana does not lead to lung cancer. More studies concluded that smoking only marijuana does not increase the risk of respiratory illnesses like chronic obstructive lung disease, and that smoking tobacco is greatly associated with this disease. Another study revealed that marijuana and tobacco do not have the same level of carcinogens. Tobacco has a far more amount of cancer-causing materials, and that is legal for everybody over 18 and a half. Furthermore, I would like to state that marijuana also has beneficial healing effects for the human body. In a study published in 2009 by the Neuropsychopharmacology Journal, it was determined that 46% of the population of people who had HIV experienced pain relief when smoking marijuana. Also, in a controlled test in cancer patients going through chemotherapy, 72% of the patients experienced decreased nausea and vomiting. Marijuana also speeds up the metabolism, making the users more hungry, and this can also be very helpful to people with HIV or cancer because they take a lot of medications that decrease their appetite, and the body needs food in order to fuel itself to fight against these diseases that these people have. And marijuana can help fight the disease in that aspect. Another illness that marijuana use can help with is multiple sclerosis, and so marijuana relaxes the muscles, and patients with muscle twitching or tightness can use marijuana so they can live their lives the way they want to without as many problems. My final claim is that marijuana prohibition is failing and it has never been successful. Marijuana prohibition began in America in the 20s and 30s, and prior to this, very few people considered it to be a social problem. We can all agree that alcohol prohibition was a complete failure with all the gangster activity like Al Capone and all that came out of the illegal production and distribution of alcohol. A similar thing is occurring today with the drug gangs illegally producing and distributing marijuana. Our culture cannot seem to understand that marijuana prohibition is a failure. You do not have to be 21 to buy marijuana because it is not regulated, therefore kids of any age can buy it from drug dealers. According to a U.S. government-funded report that said despite of all the drug enforcement that has occurred in the United States, U.S. 12th graders marijuana usage increased from 27% in 1990 to 32% in 2008. Also, 80 through 90% of all 12th graders said that the drug is very easy to obtain. To sum it up, marijuana should be legalized to save money for our government. It is safer to use than alcohol. It won't increase the drug use in our youth. Health risk of marijuana is exaggerated. There are healing effects of marijuana, and marijuana prohibition has never worked. Therefore, Congress needs to remove marijuana from being a Schedule I controlled substance.